Thank you for clicking on this video. Welcome back, friends. My name is Olivia Harrison. For 20 years, the ghosts of my parents' words have haunted me. Disgrace, trash. They were the last words they spoke to their 17-year-old, pregnant daughter before they threw me out into the cold. Today, at 37, I watched those very same ghosts materialize in the gleaming marble lobby of Springfield Memorial Hospital. There they stood, my mother clutching a Hermes Birkin like a shield, her knuckles white. My father nervously checking his Patek Philippe, both of them dressed in the armor of old money. They were here to demand an audience with their grandson, the chief of cardiac surgery they'd seen glowing on the evening news. The son of the daughter they had tried to erase from existence. A bitter laugh caught in my throat. They had no idea what was waiting for them. No idea about the will, about the final, devastating act of love from the woman who saved me when my own flesh and blood would not. Let me take you back, not to a memory, but to a wound. An October night in 2004. The air in our living room was cold, scented with imported Italian marble and the weight of unspoken expectations. My hand trembled, a cheap plastic stick feeling like a lead weight. "You're lying," my mother hissed, her voice like shattering glass. No daughter of mine would be so common. But the second test confirmed it, and the third. My father didn't yell. He never yelled. That would have been beneath his dignity. Instead, he moved with a chilling, surgical precision. He walked to my room, his footsteps echoing in the silence, and returned with my suitcase, the one bought for a future that was now ashes. He set it by the front door. The sound of the hard shell hitting the floor was a gunshot. "You have 10 minutes, he said, coldly adjusting his Yale class ring. "Take what fits. Leave your house keys on the table." "Dad, please." "You are not our daughter anymore." He reached for the family portrait on the mantel, the one with our matching white shirts and painted-on smiles, and flipped it face down. The glass cracked. "Our daughter wouldn't spread her legs for some boy and destroy everything we've built." My mother stood by the grandfather clock, examining a manicure that cost more than my prenatal vitamins. "Don't call us. Don't come back. We'll tell everyone you're studying abroad." 10 minutes. That's all the time they gave me to pack up 17 years of my life. I grabbed clothes, my grandmother's necklace they'd forgotten, and the $227 from my jewelry box. The lock clicked behind me with a finality that shattered my soul. I slept in Riverside Park that night, under the gazebo where Owen had first kissed me, his promises now as hollow as my stomach. For 3 nights, the cold seeped into my bones. Then a gentle shake. Not a cop, not a threat. An angel in a cashmere coat. A woman in her 70s, her eyes filled with a concern I'd forgotten existed. "Child," she whispered, her voice soft as a prayer. "You're going to freeze to death out here." Elena Rossi. She saw me, truly saw the broken, terrified girl curled on that bench, and without a second thought, she gathered up the pieces. "I'm fine," I lied, my teeth chattering so hard I thought they would break. "No," she said, her gaze dropping to my belly, a knowing sadness in her eyes. "You are not." When the dam finally broke, when the sobs I'd been holding back for days came wrenching out of me, she didn't flinch. She sat on that cold, hard bench, wrapped her arms around me, and held me as I wept. She held me like I was precious. "Come," she said finally, her voice steady. "Pierre and I need company for breakfast." Her car was a sanctuary, smelling of lavender and leather. The heated seats felt like a miracle. She took me to a house that felt like a home, a sprawling place with 8 bedrooms for one widow and her ancient poodle. "I lost my daughter," she told me, her voice thick with a grief that never fully left. "Car accident 5 years ago. She was pregnant, too." The room she showed me was already waiting. A Pottery Barn crib stood assembled in the corner. Maternity clothes, tags still on, hung in the closet. It was a room built for a hope that had been lost, now offered to me. "This is yours now," she said, her hand resting on a photo of a young woman with her own bright smile. "No questions, no conditions. Everyone deserves a second chance." "Why?" I breathed, my heart overflowing. "Because," she whispered, touching the photograph, My Sophia would have wanted me to. That night, I slept in a real bed for the first time in 72 hours. Alina didn't just give me shelter, she gave me back my future. While my parents spun lies about Switzerland, I was learning to breathe again in a nursery painted with stars. Seeger arrived during a February blizzard, screaming his perfect, healthy lungs out. Alina held my hand through 18 hours of labor, her whispered strength the anchor that kept me from breaking. She was the first to hold him after me. "He's brilliant," she declared, her voice full of awe, though he was only minutes old. "I can see it in his eyes." She wasn't wrong. My Seeger was a miracle. He walked at 9 months, read at 3, and devoured knowledge like it was air. While I clawed my way through night classes and online degrees, Alina taught me her empire, her 3 restaurants. "You're not just working here," she'd say. "You're learning to run your life." Lance Mitchell walked into my life when Seeger was 16. He was updating Alina's will, a document she fussed over like a living thing. He was tall, steady, and his jokes were wonderfully terrible. He made me laugh, truly laugh, for the first time in years. "Your son's remarkable," he said over a coffee that turned into dinner. "His grandmother deserves the credit." He smiled, a warm, genuine thing. I wasn't talking about Alina. Everything shattered and reassembled the day the Springfield Gazette ran the headline. A photo of my son, my Seeger, in his surgical scrubs, covered half the front page. Dr. Seeger Harrison, MD, PhD. My maiden name, the name they tried to bury with me. The voicemail came from an unknown number. My mother's voice, after 20 years of silence, cold and entitled. "Olivia, we need to discuss our grandson." Our grandson, not your son, not Seeger, ours, as if he were a stock they'd misplaced. The rage was a living thing inside me. Lance found me trembling in my office, not from sadness, but from a fury so deep it felt primordial. "They want him now that he's successful," I seethed. 20 years of silence, and now they want to claim him. "What do you want to do?" he asked, his voice calm. "I want them to disappear." He pulled me close. "We can do that, but first let me check Alina's papers. She planned for this." They started their campaign of invasion. A reservation at my restaurant under a fake name. My mother's emerald ring was the first thing I recognized. "Good evening, I'm Olivia." "Ali, we know who you are," my father said, his voice a judge's gavel. "We need to discuss Seeger." My blood ran cold. "You need to leave." They didn't. Gifts arrived at the hospital for Seeger. A Rolex, a Mont Blanc pen set, each with a card signed, "Your loving grandparents." My brilliant, kind son brought them home, confused. "Mom, should I be worried?" "Return them," I said, my voice tight. "All of them." They hired a pie. They contacted the hospital board. The final, unforgivable line was crossed when my mother ambushed Seeger at a coffee shop. "You look just like your grandfather," she simpered, blocking his path. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" "I'm your grandmother, sweetheart. Your mother has kept us apart." Seeger called me immediately. "Mom, some woman just ambushed me. Should I call security?" My heart swelled with a fierce, protective pride. "Yes, baby, always." Then at 2 a.m., the ghost from my past called. "Owen." "Liv, it's me. Please don't hang up." 20 years, and he still thought "it's me" was a key that could unlock my heart. I saw the news about our son. He's incredible, our son. Now I was our. When I was 17 and terrified, Seeger was my problem. Now that he was a headline, Owen remembered his DNA. "He doesn't know you exist," I said, my voice like ice. "Let's keep it that way." "That's not fair. I was 18, Liv. My parents threatened to." "To what?" I interrupted, the old pain sharp and fresh. "Disown you, kick you out, make you sleep in a park while pregnant." The silence on the other end was his confession. "I'm divorced now," he whispered, his voice cracking with self-pity. "My startup failed, I've lost everything. I just want to know him, he's my blood." Blood, the word was a curse on my lips. "You blocked my number when I needed you most." Then, the final, sickening betrayal fell from his lips. "Your parents contacted me. They think if I'm involved, you'll be more receptive. They're offering me money if I can convince you. I hung up, my entire body shaking. I called Lance. They're coordinating. My parents and Owen, they're working together. Good, he said, and I could hear the steel in his voice. Conspiracy leaves evidence. Alina was very specific about documentation. The trap was set. We invited them all to the hospital's annual gala, the most public stage imaginable. We dangled the bait, their inheritance from Alina's estate. They took it, of course they did. The ballroom glittered, a sea of 500 witnesses. And there they were at table 1, preening and posturing, believing this was their victory lap. Then my Seeger took the podium, in his scrubs, his armor. Good evening, he began, his voice clear and strong. I'm here to talk about family, not the family you're born into, but the family that chooses you. He told them everything. The pregnant girl thrown out, the park bench, the widow who became a savior. On the giant screen behind him, Alina's face shone, 20 feet tall. Everything I am, Seeger declared, his voice ringing with emotion, I owe to 2 women. My mother, Olivia Harrison Mitchell, who sacrificed everything for me, and my grandmother, Alina Rossi, who proved that love isn't about blood, it's about showing up. My parents' smiles had melted into masks of horror. And tonight, Seeger announced, I'm announcing the Alina Rossi Foundation for Teen Mothers. That's when my mother snapped. She shot to her feet. Where are your grandparents? Where is your blood? The entire room froze. No, Seeger said, his voice calm but firm, cutting through the tension. You're strangers who share DNA. There's a difference. The room erupted in murmurs. My father charged toward the stage, his face a thundercloud of rage. We are his grandparents. We have rights. Mr. Mitchell, Seeger said, never flinching. I believe you have some documents to present. Lance stood, a folder in his hand, a warrior for truth. He took the podium, and with a click of a remote, their own signatures were projected for the world to see. The abandonment papers, the clause that severed their rights in perpetuity. You didn't just disown your pregnant daughter, Lance's voice boomed. You legally disowned every generation that would come from her. You signed him away. The ballroom was utterly silent, a collective breath held. Then Alina's recorded voice filled the space, a posthumous reckoning. Robert and Margaret Harrison, you threw away a treasure. You are nothing. Ghosts. Signatures on a paper that ensures you'll never hurt them again. The humiliation was complete. The truth, laid bare by their own hands before the entire city. Restraining orders were served right there, in front of the flashing cameras and the stunned, silent crowd. They were escorted out, their legacy in tatters, their names synonymous with cruelty and hypocrisy. Watching them go, I felt no triumph, only a profound, echoing peace. Later, Lance would tell me they lost everything, their company, their mansion, their place in society. They moved into a guest house in Arizona, a footnote in the story they tried to destroy. But that night after the gala, our real family gathered for dinner. Seeger carved the roast. Lance poured the wine. We laughed, we loved, we remembered Alina. I looked at the 2 men who were my world, chosen and cherished, and I knew. Some choices can never be undone, but the best choices, the ones built on love, on sacrifice, on simply showing up, those are the choices that build a legacy. And ours was just beginning.
Thanks for watching PastQuest. If you enjoyed the journey into history, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing stories from the past. See you in the next quest.